Categorize versus My Day, guys. Yes, we finally have the revamp of Blade and Jingliu added into Honkai Star Rail. My Day being Blade, Categorize being Jingliu. And I honestly think the choice here will be obvious on what's better, but let's just go ahead and sit down and compare everything with these characters because, come on, guys, it's a cute white girl versus a husbando. We know who the winner is here already. We know Hoyoverse loves their white women, okay? So in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over everything from damage, free-to-play viability, and future proofing to really gauge what character is the best. Number one on the buffs list here, guys, is going to be Mr. My Days, which he gives himself some crit rate. An actual fuck ton of crit rate at that. I think it's around like 40% or something like that. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it's like around 40% crit rate that he's going to be giving himself here. Also, he's increasing the healing received to himself, and he's also going to be increasing the charge received to himself. This is what's going to be activating his Vendetta state, guys. So basically what the Vendetta state is how he gets his damage. Think of it like Blade state or Jingliu's Transcendent state. Basically, whenever he goes into the state, he'll be having access to two separate moves, one of which being the God Slayer and the other which being King Slayer. Both of these are skill moves, but they don't use skill points per se when you're in this form. They basically just activate whenever you get to certain charge points and then consume those charge points after the fact. So we'll get into more of that with the combat section in a second here, but these are just the overall buffs he gives himself. Let's go ahead and talk about Miss Categorize's buffs here. So Categorize has, let's be honest, a lot more buffs here. First of all, she's giving a res pin to the whole team. By the way, just want to state really quickly, Categorize is definitely subject to change with a lot of this stuff here, so this is not like necessarily a final number or a final thing to be said. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and hop into the rest of it here, right? So res pin to all, that's really good. Damage percentage to all as well. She's giving a big damage percent bonus to herself too, so she gives damage percent to herself and the rest of the team. The traits that she has give crit rate, crit damage, and damage percentage, which are all really helpful in terms of like her build and stuff like that. Not as good as My Days, I would say, but still pretty good nonetheless. And she's finally going to be giving herself a speed buff as well. Now the speed buff is a pro and a con. I would say it's a con in the sense for herself because I would probably be running the Poet of Morning Collapse set on her just for the free crit rate it provides. I'm a fucking sweaty free-to-play player, a casual player, and I don't feel like grinding for fucking relics like that. So giving this much crit rate for free, 32%, is absolutely essential for me. But I will say, the Memo Sprite that she has does have its own speed, so the Dragon speed as well for her, so that could be really good in terms of speeding him up, I would say. So overall, I mean, this could be a hit or miss depending on how you look at it here. So all in all, guys, comparing just the buffs alone from Categorize to Mr. My Day here, I think a clear winner on this category would be her right here. I don't think there's any point of contention here with it. Like, she is the winner in this category here, so let's go ahead and give her the check mark for the buffs because she is the clear winner here for the buffs given. Alright guys, so now let's go ahead and hop into the combat, which can be a little bit more subjective, so I want to make it a little bit more objective and give a clear winner to this, if I can anyway. So Mr. My Day here, right? First of all, guys, Mr. My Day, he has first of all, a 100% advanced action in his kit. This means whenever he gets to 100 points of his Vendetta state, he will be activating this right here, right? So 100 points of Vendetta, he'll be getting 100% advanced action forward, and then at 150 Vendetta, he will be getting basically an extra turn, which is essentially like Zila's Resurgence. So it doesn't actually count as a turn per se. So for best example I can give of this, so say you had Braun in the team, right? You advance action him to the front, and say you use his skill move, right? Using his skill move brings him to a 150 threshold, right? So using his skill move to get him to 150 points for Vendetta state would be activating the God Slayer attack, but it counts as an extra turn. So technically Bronya's buffs wouldn't dissipate on him because it's an extra turn. It's outside of the actual action order or action value, so you do get to retain those buffs. So extra turn here is actually really cool to see because I think he's the only other character in the game we have that has an extra turn. So that's, yeah, really cool to see there. He's also going to be having high HP scaling. Genuinely, guys, My Day here is just basically Blade V2. Honestly, he's Blade V2, she's Jingliu V2, okay? That's the best way I can describe it, okay? So, the HP scaling works kind of like Blade, and then his effects can activate with him having HP removed from anywhere in the action order. It doesn't have to be just his turn. That means if he's getting hit often, he can go into Vendetta state more often, which means you get more damage out with him as well, and that's why I said he can be SP efficient here, guys, because SP efficiency really relies on the amount of times you're getting attacked and for how much damage you're taking, because Vendetta state is derived from how much damage you're taking, how much HP percentage you're actually losing. So if you're losing less HP with him, that would mean that he is going to be consuming more SP. But if you're losing more HP with him, that means he's more SP efficient. And the final thing I want to add here that I didn't put in writing here is that he does have a taunt, an AoE taunt, meaning he can make enemies attack him. So that's also really good too. You can forcibly put enemies into a situation where they're attacking him, dealing damage with him, which makes him more SP efficient in the end. But like I said, it really depends on the damage he's taking here. So let's go ahead and talk about Miss Cataraisa's combat here. First of all, she is the second character in the game right now that has a joint attack. So what a joint attack is, if you look at Aggie, for example, right? Aggie, when her and the Seam Master, or whatever the fucking puppet is, come up in the action order together, they can do a joint attack. And what these joint attacks are and what they do is basically, you think of two separate actions within the same action there, right? So you'll be having the dragon hit for its own percentage of damage, and then you'll be having her hit for her own percentage of damage, right? So say you buffed up the dragon and you didn't buff up her, the dragon will be doing its own damage, so it's taking that damage calculation into consideration for his own damage, and then you're taking her own damage calculation into consideration there too. That also works for like enemies as well. So if you have enemies that you have to hit multiple times to like do a certain effect on the enemy, this also will work there too, being a joint attack, both of them having their own separate actions within the attack. Next up here, guys, is going to be HP scaling as well. Basically the same as this right here, guys. Your team takes damage, she gets charged up, she can activate her dragon, which basically the same as this right here, right? Honestly, I said she's like a Jingliu, which she is, because she does like remove HP from the rest of the team and stuff like that. But on the same note, she plays very similar to how she plays very similarly to how he plays. She's like an upgraded version of him in a way, though I can see him being more of a sub DPS in the future than her, but we'll talk about that in the future proofing section later. She also has instance-based attacks, and what does this mean? This is, say like an Argenti or say like a Jingyuan. When you use Argenti's ultimate and he's hitting the enemy 6 extra times, she is practically the same way as well, right? She is going to be bouncing 6 additional times, but it's 2 random enemies, so that means if you have 1, 2, 3 enemies here, it could be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's even across the board. Or it could be like 4 here, 1 here, 1 here, or hell, it could even be 6 here, 0 here, and 0 here. So that means if you have 1 enemy on the field, and it's random, there's only 1 enemy to hit, so that means you would hit all 6 targets on this one here as well. So this is going to be really good for boss slaying here, where I think Mayday kind of falters in this aspect, guys, is the instance-based bounce damage is actually really good for like bosses, right? So while it can be randomized, you can be hitting adjacent enemies. He is always going to be hitting adjacent enemies. Sure, he has blast type damage, which I guess I should put here as well. His damage is blast type here, but the thing with the blast type damage he's doing is he can surely focus one enemy and put more damage on one particular enemy. She has a lot more of an advantage with this, with the bounce damage she's able to do, because you can convert technically the AoE damage into full single target damage. So I think for this aspect here, guys, if we were to compare how they work in combat together, guys, I would probably say that she has the advantage here too. Now, why would I say she has the advantage here too? Because honestly, the advanced action and the extra turn is super strong for him. I think the biggest thing pertains to the bounce she provides and the HP and how she's charging up, right? He can only charge up from himself, versus she charges up from the rest of the team. So if the rest of the team is doing good, right? And honestly, if the rest of the team is even healing, she's getting charged as well. So she is charging into her main damage source a lot easier than he charges into his. I would be giving that win to her as well. Also, she doesn't rely on energy. She relies on damage being dealt, right, for her ultimate. So that is pretty big as well, because he definitely does rely on energy still. Not saying that's necessarily like a full detractor on him. I would just say that it's easier to get because you're always going to be getting attacked on every single ally you have. They take damage, you give her charge. Now on to the next category, which will be sustain here, guys. So for sustain for Mayday is actually honestly pretty good. He has a free revive in his kit. That means he can revive himself within the Vendetta state. He has also CC immune, which means he's immune to crowd control effects when in the Vendetta state, which means he can't be frozen, locked down, or anything like that. He's also giving himself increased HP, which increases his own sustainability. And then finally, guys, he can retain Vendetta state when he revives himself, right? So with that being said, let's go ahead and move over to Miss Cat Piss now. Cat Piss, or oh, fuck, I hope I don't get monetized for that one. Anyways, first of all, she has this ability called Backup, and what Backup is kind of doing, guys, is essentially whenever your allies drop to 1 HP and the dragon's out in the field, they don't die. You basically take the damage that they would be taking and apply it to the dragon's HP instead. Now, the reason why this makes her a better sustain in my book is that you just disallow the team to die. Think of Fu Xuan. She is kind of acting like a Fu Xuan on the team. She is doing like main DPS damage, but also sustaining the team as well. I'm not gonna say completely sustain the team, because when the dragon goes away, then you're gonna fuck. So it really depends on if you have the dragon up or not. So that's a big thing there. Also, healing allies. She can heal your allies after the dragon goes away. So she does have some type of a heal there. And then finally, guys, global massive revive passive. This is a massive L, guys. A massive fucking L. Why the fuck did they add this into the game? This is so stupid. I'm just gonna talk about this from the meta perspective or the kit perspective here. Global passive revive can be good if you're shit at the game, right? With her dropping your allies down to 1 HP, this can be really good in the situations where maybe dragon's gone, your whole team dies for whatever reason. The next turn, they're back up, right? You can activate that once per battle. But the bad thing about this is you get this just by having her in your account. So with this being in the game, I shit you not, guys, while the revive might not be good, right? They're going to add enemies in the game that make this good. So I think the sustain aspect here is an absolute win for her as well. I do not condone the global revive. That's stupid as fuck. Just on principle alone, any global passive from a character, I think is bad. With my little rant out of the way there, I think all three of these categories quite literally go to Miss Categorize here. It's not looking good for Mr. My Day. I'm not gonna lie, guys. She just seems better than me in every way possible. Next here is free to play. So I figure why not start first with the teams, right? Because teams are an essential part to how you play characters and what you need to have on your account to pull these characters, right? So what I really want to touch on right now is the main differences, right? Starting off with the My Day first. I think actually My Day and Fei Xiao can work pretty decently on a dual DPS team. The reason why I think that they can work that way is because she plays off of actions. If you're facing enemies that hit you a lot, you'll have a lot of free actions with him, which would then inherently charge Fei Xiao up. It's kind of like running Fei Xiao with Tribute, right? And I've showed this in one of my showcases. I don't know if the video will be out by the time this video comes out, but I recently ran a completely free-to-play Fei Xiao with S0E0, with Tribute S0E0, and it actually worked out better than a Topaz team for Fei Xiao. Why? Well, I think it's because of the buff she gives, obviously, but on top of that, you just get a lot of actions with her, and you also get a lot of AoE things as well. With him, you're getting blast damage, and blast damage really converts into like AoE-esque damage, where she's only like single targets oriented, so you can kind of help out the damage there, and then also you can clear up the enemies just with her on the field there. Jingliu removes HP from allies, so she ends up being really good. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If she gets a buff, hey, My Day and her will work like a match made in heaven. Like I said, he's a Blade. She's over there is more like a Jingliu, right? Now, onto this. Ting Yun and Fugue. I think he could probably work pretty decently on a break team just because of the amount of actions he has. You could probably get a decent amount of super break damage in there with him, but like I said, it really depends on the hit he has. He's very RNG oriented when it comes to that, and then Ting Yun gives him energy. He will love the energy. He'll love the damage percentage. Maybe not the attack that much, but he will love those things there. Now, let's go over to Miss Categorize now. Categorize, as you'll see here, has a lot more options in my opinion, and the reason why I put Miss Robin here instead of on his side is because there is just one key factor here, right? Both of them don't really like scaling off of HP. Okay, fine, whatever, right? But this is maybe just an assumption, right? He already gives himself so much free crit rate. You'll be giving him a lot of free crit damage, so I feel like the crit damage that Robin provides to the team is actually more beneficial on this team here. Also, on top of that, I also think the action advance and also the damage she gives is also better with her as well. The reason I say that is because she has a Memo Sprite, right? So you're getting both of these for the Memo Sprite as well, too. So you're basically getting double the value out of Robin, but just having her on the team versus My Day on the team, right? Because you're getting the buff for both her and the Memo Sprite too. So in my opinion, that makes her better for a Categorize team. Zhao Cho here, I think Zhao Cho is really good because he has usually a pretty high HP pool. On top of that, he gives some pretty unique debuffs. Now, the reason I put Silverwolf here is because, first of all, type change is nice. She's Quantum, they're all Quantum. You can kind of match weakness typing up with that and make a Mono Quantum team. That's always been a really strong combo there. But if she gets, this is really pertaining if she gets a buff. If she does not get a buff, I think it's kind of useless, honestly, but if she gets a buff and she can end up hitting multiple enemies, I think Silverwolf would be a good combo. That's definitely metagaming into the future, but I think that could be a good combo there. Now, the reason why I put Clara here, and the reason why I put Yun Li here, and the reason why we have Blade here as well, is because all of these characters play off of some type of getting hit, right? Yun Li could literally drop to 1 HP, the dragon would save her. Clara drops to 1 HP, the dragon saves her, right? You can have taunt with these characters, which means you have more sustainability on the team, because then they're going to be focusing on these characters. They have damage reduction already, so you're not making the dragon per se take more damage, because you're reducing the damage they take. And then on top of this, Blade as well. Blade likes losing his HP. The more HP you lose, the more fun he has. So that's why I have them in this category, because she removes HP, so she's really good for Blade. But on top of this, she can stop their HP at 1, so she's also good for these counter characters as well. So these can be ran as sub DPSs there. So the win, I think the obvious win here is for honestly the Miss Category sweep might be coming in if that were not for the build section, because guys, I'm just going to throw both the build sections up here. I'm just going to say, I think My Day is probably one of the easier builds in the game. The reason I say that is because he gives himself so much free crit rate that it allows you to run a crit damage body, and honestly, you don't really need that many substats into crit rate even at all. Also, he has really good free-to-play light cone options as well, guys. Like, the light cone options he has are absolutely insane, which we're going to talk about what her light cone options are in a second here, but his light cone options, he's a great free-to-play option, right? He has that Herta Shop, or I guess the event light cone you have here, right? Which increases max HP, and then when losing or restoring HP, you're giving himself free crit damage as well. So you're giving him free crit damage off rip, and you're giving him free crit rate from his kit, and then you're giving himself HP, which is everything that he needs. So his build, to me, is more free to play than what hers is offer. I'm giving him the check mark already because I don't even need to say this. Her build's definitely harder. She gives herself no free crit rate. She doesn't give herself free crit damage, really, other than, like, the traces. So this is down bad already, so you're having to put a lot more into that build. You're kind of kerfuckled even into running the Quantum set, because the Quantum set, while it can work for her, right? It's pretty good for her, right? It gives her free crit right there. I feel like you could get a more damaging set out if she were to give herself more of these stats. Not to say that she doesn't, because she gives herself a lot of free fucking damage percentage. But outside that goes, I mean, this is kind of down bad. Also, no good free-to-play options, guys. I mean, what are you going to run if you don't have her Sig? Like, I don't think she needs her Sig to function. I just want to let that be known. I think that's a big problem with content creators saying that you need to pull their Sig for everything. I don't think that's the case. But overall, guys, like, what do you run here? There's nothing that gives HP, so you have nothing that really focuses on her scalings at all. I mean, you could run Victory in a Blink, which gives you increased crit damage, and then also damage dealt. That could be good. She gives herself a lot of damage percentage already, so I mean, is that really the best thing in the world? Increased speed, she doesn't really need increased speed, so I really wouldn't run that either. Increases the wearer's attack, she doesn't really need that either. I wouldn't fucking do that for the life of me. She does, what, skill attack? Is it basic attack or skill attack she does? I want to say it's a skill attack she does, so she doesn't get that either. The only other option here is Sweat Now Cry Less, which is a BP light cone. So you're having to pay either way for like a super good light cone there. So for that matter, yeah, not really good on my book. These are both down bad, so he wins on build there, so let that be known. And then finally, guys, for future proofing. Now, guys, for the future proofing, I think he's just going to be a great sub DPS in the future. I think he's going to be like the Blade, right? You can throw him on any team. He kind of works, right? He's like the garbage disposal unit. You can kind of throw whatever you want on him. His build's not too hard. He's going to kind of get the job done regardless of where he's at. But will he have long staying power? I really don't know that, guys. I don't think he's going to be top of the top, because if we were to look at the Pride Win tier list right now, this is what the tier list is looking like. Absolutely abysmal. This bitch should be moved down. Anyways, I think that Caterice will probably either be on the same level as the Herta. I think she'd probably be higher than the Herta. Honestly, guys, I can see, I was going to go out and say it, guys, it's already here. She's the Miyabi of HSR, in my humble opinion. I think she is the Miyabi of HSR. That means she is going to set a new precedent for what the meta should be. She's our new meta-breaking unit, and for that reason, I think she'll probably be the new tier 0. I think you probably move Aggie and maybe even the Herta down, and I think that probably My Day is probably going to be on their level right here if I had to guess. And with that being said, guys, I mean, she just has a lot more staying power because she has a lot more initial power. DPS fade off, and they get kerfuckled in the future, and for that reason, I think that, he's kind of fucked in that aspect. She also gives global passive as well, so that's a big dubski in her. I guess just for her kit alone, it's a fucking not a dubski for the players, but for her own kit, it's a dub. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and tally up the winner here. I mean, like, she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1. I think she has, literally, it's a 5v1 right now on like, the point she's good at versus the points he's good at. So for that reason, don't pull for My Day. Unless you really like him. I like him. I might be pulling for him. I think people will give him more shit just because he's coming out before Caterice, and I think everyone probably knew that Caterice was going to be better. But outside of that, I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know, guys. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who are you pulling for? Caterice or My Day? The man, the husbando, or the cute white woman that fucking Hoyo loves serving up on a silver platter for you? Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you next one later. Bye-bye.